What's going on to Knicks Chicks fam? I'm your girl, Lady and the Chef. I'm joined by my co-host this evening.
Relax 21. What's up?
Another day that we get to talk about the Knicks. Right now, the Olympics are going on, so it's kind of quiet with WNBA. The New York Liberty are off for about a month, so we'll revisit them. But right now, they're sitting in at number one. In the Eastern Conference, which is amazing. All-Star Weekend just happened. Did you watch the All-Star game? Did you like it?
Um, yeah, I think I enjoyed the game, the actual game between the WNBA and Team USA. I like the skills. It was kind of like just the whole, you know, spill was kind of like, it was short, you know.
Mhm.
It culminated on what Saturday, right? They did the skills challenge and the other stuff on Friday, and they had the actual game Saturday. I guess that's their weekend. What the what the W, because with the men's, we know that their game, completes theirs on a Sunday. But overall, it was a good game, man. It was really entertaining. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think this is one of the best ones, by far.
I
And
agree.
that, yeah, it's just gonna get better. So because they've come a long way. And I've heard this was like the most watched thus far. So which is good.
Yeah, I think also the timing helped too because past WNBA All-Star festivities were too early, which I don't
Yeah,
understand why they were doing that. People were out shopping, they were out on vacation. People were out doing things and weren't able to catch it. You missed it, didn't see what happened. But shout out to Arike Agumawale, who won the All-Star MVP twice. This is the second year in a row. And shout out to Alicia Gray, who was a really like she doesn't get enough praise in the league, and she's Atlanta's like number one player. And I've been following her game for a while, and she just got it. You know what I mean? Like even when she plays against the New York Liberty, any team, she can score. Her mid range is sick. Like she just has a bit of everything under her belt for her game. So I thought it was a great All Star weekend. I'm looking forward to see it continue to grow. And yeah, but for right now, we have a little break until we could talk some more about the New York Liberty. But we'll be watching the Olympics, and the women did beat Germany. So that was cool to see. They blew them out. Not surprising. I saw Angel Reese was at the game. Katie was there. Steph Curry was there watching the women play today. So yeah, they've been killing it. I know they're gonna do great. But this is a nice break for those who are not on the Olympic team as well. But we're here to talk about the Knicks tonight. I titled this podcast, Do the Knicks Have to Give to Get? Or if it's not broke, don't fix it. I feel like this Knicks team, I think when they did that first phase of trades and moving around with the RJ and quickly getting OG, getting Precious. I thought that was like the turning point in making some kind of changes, right? And then acquiring Mikal Bridges, most recently signing OG, Jalen Brunson taking a pay cut, things are lining up. This New York Knicks team is moving into a positive direction of championship contention, to be able to be. To me, I don't even think you necessarily just need to look at, yeah, Boston was the reigning champs. Absolutely, the Knicks need to figure out how to beat Boston for sure, yes. But there are other teams in the league that I think that the Knicks, yeah, we did beat them throughout the regular season, but we need to be able to look stronger and really be able to battle it out with those other teams in the league that are really good. Your Denver Nuggets, your Minnesota Timberwolves, your Milwaukee Bucks, along with Boston, those teams that are a bit more stronger in the league. Um, but I do know that the obvious is yes, teams have to give to get. The reason why I titled this podcast that is because the Knicks still don't have a solid backup center. I think we're both in agreement that Jericho Sims is not a solid backup to Mitchell Robinson, and that we would like to see someone else with more experience, maybe not necessarily a veteran if you want to call him that, but with some more experience who can back up Mitchell Robinson, as Jericho Sims is, to me, is not going to be able to cut it. And I honestly think that that's going to hurt the Knicks in the long run if Jericho Sims was to be able, if he was the only backup option. Um, I know Corey Lee, shout out to Corey Lee, was saying he saw a video of Jericho working in the gym. You know how I feel about those videos. That means nothing until we get to the regular season and we're seeing what you can do, right? It's just like when guys play in the G League, the Summer League. To me, that means it's great. But when you get in a regular season and real-time games, that's when it matters. Let's back up to Summer League before we get into the meat and potatoes. After watching Summer League, were there any particular player or players that stood out for you that look NBA ready from the New York Knicks Summer League team?
No, definitely not NBA ready, but you can definitely see them on the roster. Um, you know, definitely get some playing time under their belt, go to the G League, um, and then let them be a student of the game. There was many that came before them and who absorbed, what they saw on the floor, was able to, pick apart things and be a tutelage and just learn under guys. But NBA ready, no. I think the one for me that really stood out had the most potential. I mean, we all know Kolek. Maybe it's his experience, his age.
Right.
Um, he what he was able to do in college. It's transferable. I don't know if it's this year, but it's definitely, there's a lot of upsides to him. And
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see him, definitely year two. I don't think it's gonna take much longer than that. That was a good find, and a good pick, for the Knicks. Huck, I'm gonna botch these
Ariel.
names. Yeah, Ariel. There you go. We're just gonna call him Ariel. Yeah.
Right.
It's the same. You address some plays by the last name, others by the first. But there was a lot of upsides to him. But not NBA ready. I could definitely see him. It's a shame this could be year two for him because you could even use him
Right.
as a backup. Um, but not NBA ready. Not this year. Not this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think promising, like you said, and seeing the potential there, yes. The only player I agree with you 100% that I saw that I was like, yeah, he can get a spot on the bench. And at times I hope that he can be able to get a couple of minutes here and there is Tyler Kolek. I think with him getting one stronger, like physically, he got to get in the gym and get stronger. And then two, working on defense, getting stronger at defensively. And then I think being able to just get better at his mid-range jumper. He did an excellent job not having turnovers. He averages like 7.7 assists a game, which is great. So he's always looking to give it to guys, which this Knicks team has players who can cut to the basket. Um, so I like him being on this team. And another reason why I like him making this Knicks team is that Tyler Kolek can learn a lot playing not only in practices, but when he can get playing time with the veteran leadership and experience under Jalen Brunson. You could learn a lot from a player like that who does things. I don't know how many times have we watched Knicks games, and no matter who's commentating the game, you would hear a lot of the commentators say, a lot of you boys and girls who are watching the game really pay attention to what Jalen Brunson is doing on the floor. His footwork, his decision making, the basketball IQ. And that is infectious, as we saw Jalen Brunson has that capability of doing not just across the team, but with guys like Deuce McBride, Tyler Kolek. You know what I mean? So him being on this team is a good fit, and he'll be able to have growth on this New York Knicks team and to learn and build up on his skill set and get stronger out there for this Knicks team. So I like him a lot. He was like who I was really paying attention to. Rokas Hokabitis. I like what I saw from him as well. But again, I didn't feel like him or Ariel is NBA ready just yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't feel like this Knicks team, and I said this even when we passed this past season, I don't feel like this front office wants to take too many guys who need a lot of development and to be, trained and worked on, because right now where this team is projecting, sure, they may take your one or two guys, but I think the only other player that you could have there, and he's still trying to work his way onto playing time, is what's his name?
Oh, Washington or
Washington, and what you
Toppin?
call his brother, Toppin's brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are like the only two guys who really, and again, they're still trying to fight their way, you know, like Deuce did, playing G League, playing Summer League. They're trying to fight their way into a spot to get some sprinkle of minutes on this next team. So right now, I think Tyler Kolek, just the way he was handling that ball, it didn't give amateur to me. He seemed comfortable, confident. He wasn't doing too much. It was under control. And again, I saw this guy can get better. So I like him for the team. Daddy A, I think he's gonna get better, but he needs some work too, some development. But
Oh yeah,
the
for
point I'm
sure.
trying to make is I don't think this Knicks team wants to take on too many players who need a lot. We're not at a let's go young and build the players up and rebuild the team phase. So they're
Yeah,
not trying to take a lot of guys like that on this team.
yeah. I mean, because they've done that, and the end goal is like we're in a now phase. Like
Hmm.
this is our year, and then we're not gonna regress or revert back. Where you had the previous guys that were they developed under Tibbs, and you know there wasn't any real growth. It was more regression. We're not going to rehash that, but definitely. So, like, there's potential for the ones that are on the roster, but they just need some like seasoning. They got to get some skill set, reps, and everything under their belt, and they'll fit right in. I
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. Um, Before we even talk about um the most obvious issue is that the Knicks need a center. One of the guys that we kept hearing about lately is Deuce McBride being in talks of possibly trading him with first one or two first round picks to get somebody else on his team, right? As far as the center goes. And my biggest thing is that I don't think that the Knicks should be trying to get rid of Deuce just because you signed him for a reason. You saw what he can do for this team. One, two, he's also on a great contract. But three, I feel like it could be a gift and a curse because you can get rid of Deuce. Deuce can go to another team and then get better and then burn the Knicks as we saw the old Knicks front office would do. But Deuce has not even hit his prime yet, as we were talking about on Sunday. So he hasn't hit his peak within his game, and he's trending towards there. Like he's only going to continue to get better. And I'm sure he's in a gym working. I know he had the foot surgery, but he's working on developing his game and getting better, and so he can add more to his game. And one of the things I was saying I would love for him to add to his game is being able to use his quickness to get to the basket. But when I think about Deuce McBride, one of the things he was having to do was help bring the ball up at times. So I think my question to you is: do you consider Deuce a shooting a point guard, or is he a shooting guard? And are you comfortable with Deuce being more so of the backup point guard, bringing up the ball at times, or should Deuce be more playing his shifted back into his actual role because he's more of a catch and shoot guy instead of having him bring up the ball? I mean, what do you consider Deuce his role more of on this Knicks team?
I guess a lot of for me, he's like a combo, but more of a catch and shoot. Um, the comfortability level for me for him to bring it up, um, I'm like iffy on it. To me, he's not. I don't want to say confident, but like the downsides, like the ball handling, like he needs to, he seems a bit shaky, at times. When he tends to give up his dribble, he comes across the court line, and then it's like he's overthinking, like, which route, to go, or and we've seen it, when he gets across that half court, he gives up his dribble,
Hmm.
instead of, being like a playmaker, or that's not like his strong suit, just being a point guard. So I would rather him just, a shooting guard or catch and shoot. But because there's a lot of upsides to him. But as a point guard, I'm not, not too keen on it. Because like I said, he could be shaky. And in return, it can, lead to a turnover, because, he's, to me, he's not a natural point. Um, and it causes him to not like look for his own shot. So that's why, I would rather him just do the catch and shoot, or the shooting guard for me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my biggest thing with Deuce is that once he has to bring up the ball mentally, he's so focused, laser focused on bringing the ball up without turning it over. He's so concerned with um, facilitating the ball, making sure he's, passing it off to whoever he needs to, whether that's a
Mhm.
play that Tibbs drew up or just looking out for who's open. So he's not necessarily like where a natural point guard or even somebody who a player who can, maybe they have to help bring up the ball at times, but they can go get theirs at times. And Deuce doesn't really have that capability where we haven't seen that yet from him. And yeah, I think Deuce, I agree. He's not an actual point guard. He's more of a catch and shoot type of player. And he's more successful for us when he's able to do catch the ball and shoot versus when he has to bring the ball up. But I think that we still have to wonder who's going to be the backup point guard for Jalen Brunson because I don't think that he should have to bring that ball up every single time up the floor. And you have to wonder, okay, who's going to bring it up when he does sit down for a couple of minutes? And then who brings it up that you feel comfortable with coming off the bench, bringing that ball up the floor for 82 game long regular season. Plus, when you have the playoffs, which majority of the time it'll be Brunson bringing up the ball, but he should be able to sit down for a couple of minutes and take a break and not have to always bring up the ball. And then when you look at the roster, you go, I mean, who do you have bring it up? Mikkel? I don't want to see Josh bringing up the ball.
I think Juice is gonna be the backup, going into the season. And because I don't think they want to give Deuce up. Um, as we mentioned, on 718, how they like. I think it's gonna be a wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, who's out there, and then plus you gotta, I guess really deal with Randall's situation, because again, that's probably why they haven't really done much with Precious, because I think they're like at a wait and see. Um, And I don't see them. I mean, anything could happen, but I think that Deuce is going to be, an asset for him and hold on to him, because they saw the upside. And when you look at his numbers from his year one to, his the progression, like his numbers are going up. It's not like he's not even at a steady peak. Everything across the board has increased for Deuce. So as I don't, and that's why I think he's going to be the backup unless something else changes in between now and the start of the season and so forth. I truly believe that he will.
I really thought the Knicks were going to shop around and try to get in a more solidified point guard to bring into the team. Like, I don't know. I really like Deuce. I just don't. I'm a big firm believer that I think for next season, players on the Knicks team should be able to play their actual roles, and then if we do have a part two where we have injuries abound and guys have to shift into a different position to play, then that's different. But if players can play their normal position, great. But I think if we would have had somebody who, again, if you have to sit Jalen Brunson for 5 whole minutes, he could comfortably sit there and catch his breath. You don't have to worry about the lead
So
slipping, um, or somebody who's just like we were saying before, a point guard who's not just bringing up the ball for the sake of bringing up the ball, but somebody who can actually do something with it, who can score at times, who has good court vision, somebody who's aggressive, and also can play defense as well and can fit into this team, not just playing wise, but character wise, and that Tibbs of trust putting in the game. But when I saw ESPN have put the last few players, free agents that were standing, Precious, Tyus Jones were on that list. And I was like, well, why didn't they try to go after him? But again, it makes me think about like kind of what you said. I think it's like the cap and the money and the Knicks trying to bring somebody on. And also it'd be kind of shady to do that. And Precious is standing there waiting around like, yo, because again, he was on that list. But I don't know. I really thought that, remember, like the center was one of the biggest issues we were talking
and
about, and it was the
it still
backup point
is.
guard. And I
Yeah.
thought the Knicks would have done something about that because, again, I hear and I see people in the chat saying, "Oh, and I agree with you. It probably is going to be a let's see, and then we'll wait and see. And then if Deuce ain't really fulfilling the role as much, then we're going to have to bring somebody in to fulfill that backup role." Because again, I'm a firm believer, and shout out to Queen because she used to say this a lot in previous episodes. Like Jalen Brunson should not have to bring up that ball every single night for almost 50 minutes a freaking night. The Knicks
Okay.
got very lucky. My last point, the Knicks got very lucky that he stayed healthy the entire season. You don't want to burn players like him and Josh Hart out because that you having to play them so many minutes again. And I get that we had an injury problem, but Tibbs is also known for playing guys like way too many minutes. And in a case like Brunson, because we don't have a strong backup point guard, he was having to play so many minutes. So I thought that the Knicks front office would have addressed that.
Okay. So what do you think, or why you think they signed Cam? Um, Cameron
Well,
Payne.
yeah, you're right.
And what do you think they're gonna do with him? Going forward. Will they keep him? Will he be
The signing of campaign, I was a little confused by that. I'm not gonna lie, because his numbers don't lie. His numbers are pretty good. He can be a nice spark off the bench. He's one of
yeah.
those guys. He can come off the bench. He can give you some nice minutes. He can give you some points. But I just feel like what he can give you, we already have. We already have that in our bench unit. You have um Josh Hart, you have DiVincenzo, you have Deuce McBride, you have Mikal Bridges, you have players that can do that already. So I feel like he can give you that already, but what he's by him coming on the team. Now, do I think maybe to some degree, maybe to help bring up the ball? Maybe that's why they did do that. Because we saw him bringing up the ball when we played against Philadelphia in that first round. They had him, Nick Nurse had him bringing up the ball.
Yep.
And he's very confident. He was chucking up threes. And I saw Nick Nurse a few times was like, no, that's not what I wanted. But it was like, whatever, it went in. But that wasn't what he wanted. But Cam was like, I know I can. And I've seen him do it on other teams where he popping up threes but he know he can make them shots. But I just don't know what was the purpose of us signing him when I don't know. I just felt like maybe they should have just held off. Again, maybe it could have been for reasons of a backup, somebody else to bring up the ball.
Or he could be trade bait, like, or he could be
That
thrown
too.
in. So, that's what I'm saying. You with this front office, it's kudos and shout out to them. They should have gotten something for the moves that they made so far, but and they're not done. So, with him, there's a lot of ways they could utilize him. Either he stay or we throw him in, as a package. He's a veteran. He do have that experience. Him and Mikel, I think that was the year they went to the finals. So again, you just don't know.
Right.
I don't see him taking Deuce's minutes if because I'm confident Deuce is gonna be here for the long haul. So he could be the third option or anything.
Right.
You just don't know.
Yeah. And you know what? You're absolutely right. That could be part of this Knicks front office plan. And we know that this Knicks front office have been moving very smart. Do I think that they waited a little too long with the Hartenstein acquisition? Yes. And even you brought that up. I think we both in agreement that they waited so long that all the other possible centers you could assign, they were taken up by other teams because you guys waited so long to make a move. And I get that the Knicks didn't have the money to do it. And part of the reason was because we both know with Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle due for extension paydays, that was, part of the reason why they couldn't just keep Hartenstein, which sucked. But,
Yeah,
we've noticed that this front office does that. But again, I don't want the front office to be desperate and just take anybody. Like you want
sure.
guys to be a good fit here. You want it to work out, not just playing style, but also a character fit where they'll play well with not only other players, but under Tibbs themselves. So I understand that this Knicks front office doesn't just like to just snatch up anybody on this team. But yeah, I don't know. You could be right. Campaign could have been, he could be some kind of trade bait that maybe, and who knows? I feel like they're not done. I feel like this next front office still has some moves under their belt that they're planning on making and moving and shaking and moving.
Sure.
They've caught us by surprise a few times already, and Leon Rose is working. It may be NBA season must be maybe over, and technically, it really just finished. Shout out to Uncle Freezy, who was just saying that it's only been 3 weeks. But their phones are still busy and ringing. They're still trying to make moves and acquire, get rid of this person, working out deals. So I don't put that behind them that they're not trying to do what they need to do to get players over here. But I think what still lies is that this Knicks team needs to be able to acquire a true backup center. I'm not comfortable with Sims being the backup point to Mitch. And you can't keep Mitch out there for so many minutes. One, it's not fair to him to not be able to get a break. Two, Mitch, you don't want him getting hurt, and
Exactly.
suffering an injury so early in the season. Like we really need Mitch. Where we're positioned right now, the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson to stay healthy as long as possible. And I really pray that Mitchell Robinson's able to withstand the majority of the season because the
Yeah.
Knicks damn sure are going to need him to stay. You can't go clunking out in December. You can't go clunking out in January. You can't. It's too early. You can't clunk out that early in a season. I mean, maybe late March, April. but then we need you back for the playoffs. This is what I'm saying. So
Exactly. So
you can't time an injury. I get that, but clunking out that early in the season, I'm telling you, that's going to hurt this Six team. And then what? Now Sims is your starting center, and with the way it's looking like with some of the centers we saw in G League, I mean, excuse me, in Summer League, the Knicks are going to send some of those guys to G League. Not to
oh,
say
for
you can't
sure.
pull one of them up and say, "Hey, we need you to step in," but and you know who knows, that could happen. But I think the biggest thing is also is that you don't know with Tibbs is he if he's going to give guys some playing time, or are they going to be forced into having to play and get the playing time. Um, but right now, the three players, if the Knicks can get them, that would be nice as a center position. Is Walker Kessler from Utah, who would be I think would should be the Knicks' top priority. We know that that's going to be tough to do because Danny Ainge is going to want all these first round picks for him. But this past season, he was averaging 8 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, blocks per game. He was second in the league at 2.4 a game. Um, Offensive rebounds, he was at 2.5, a little over two a game. Um, it sucks because, like I said, Danny Ainge has already made it clear to the Knicks that he wants 2 first-round picks. So that would pretty much hold the trade up from happening because, you know, he's greedy and he's going to want everything but the kitchen sink, or I should say, including the kitchen sink, for the Knicks to make that trade. And that just wouldn't make any sense. I mean, or do you give up 2 first-round picks to get Walker Kessler? I just don't think that he's worth giving up 2 first-round picks. I just think that's a lot for a player like him. The other,
Well,
go ahead.
although it's a lot, but he's young. I mean, he was a beast on the boards and so there's a lot of upside. So, you know, they're not gonna just give him away without, getting something. Um, Two first rounders. I mean, he's young. I mean, I don't know. I would roll the dice. And go for it, or maybe a first, which we know they're not doing a first rounder, and some, you know, they're not parting ways with do so that may just be like a ass scratch. But again, and I don't, like as we mentioned before, I don't think the Knicks are gonna sign anybody just yet. I think it's just like a wait and see. And for now, and
Yeah, I feel like that's where they're trending as well. Um, Other possible centers, Jalen Duran. I know a lot of people in our chat have been talking about him as well. He's only 20 years old. Um, I think signing Duran um, would be huge for the Knicks and what he's capable of doing on the floor. Um, it'll pretty much maximize, that's the word I'm looking for, the Knicks' potential. And it would make sense roster wise, putting him on the team. He would play pretty much like a similar role like Isaiah Hartenstein. I know he can't make the passes like Hartenstein, but he's a pretty dominant scorer around the rim, a good pick and roll guy. He's a lob threat, great with offensive rebounds to put back in the basket. His playmaking will be there if he's working in tandem with Jalen Brunson. And he's also a versatile defender that the Knicks could utilize on this team. So I don't know. I think with him being 6'10", he's not the tallest. I understand that, but he makes up for it being with his movement. He's real springy. His season stats, he was at 13.8 points per game. He was at 11.6 rebounds per game, fifth in the league. 2.4 assists per game. His field goal percentage is at 61.9%, and his contract is 2 years, 11 million, which is, a bit more. It's affordable. That's the word I should use. It's affordable. And he's only going to get better. He's young too, like Kessler, and can grow. But I agree with you. I think the Knicks right now are on a wait and see, and we're just going to have to rock out with Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims for this team. Your thoughts on Jalen Duren?
Um, I mean, I you and when they're young, I always, to me, and when they're making an impact at such a early clip, and if you could get them, because there's always room for growth, and you see the potential. Like I say, he's not the tallest 6'10", um, but it's the upsides to him, and the versatility. So people like that, but like when you get someone of that caliber, um, do you take a gamble on it and as use it as your second option for a center?
Right.
Um, I would, because of what he brings and his skill set. I'm high on him. Um, I would go, he's an option. Put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other guy is Nick Richards from Charlotte, which
Mm.
would, I think, if the Knicks were to try to go after Nick Richards, he would be more of a safe bet move for the Knicks to acquire him. I think between him, Kessler, and Nick and Jalen Duren, he's like third as an option for me. Like I'm not knocking him, but he's just, I don't know. I just feel like you better off trying to get Jalen Duren or Kessler before you go after Nick Richards. Um, but yeah, he played for Charlotte Hornets. His stats, he was at 9.7 points per game, 8 rebounds a game, 2.6 offensive rebounds per game. His field goal percentages is at 69%. His contract is at 2 years, $10 million. He'd be a solid backup for Mitchell Robinson. He played around 22 minutes a night for Charlotte. He brings energy, solid rim protection. He has the height there. Guess he can play well under Tibbs. But yeah, I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
think
would definitely. Uh, if it was A, B, or C, or one, two, or three, definitely, put him, third on the list because of the upside to the other guys. But he's young too. What is he, 26, I think, or something like that. So
mhm.
he's still young. There's room for improvement. His great, ability, around the rim. So he's a great rim protector. But like I said, anytime when you get an upside and you compare apples to oranges, i.e., your player that you're looking at as opposed to Jericho Sims, I mean, I would roll a dice and just go for it. If you want to compare apples to oranges,
Right.
because somebody put in the thing, Jericho Sims has not seen the light of day. Or that was Anthony G. And I agree. Um, but again, it's just so, like with the front office, you don't know. They know that there's a need,
Right. Right. Of
for
course.
but it's just like it's like a wait and see type of thing.
So
Um,
if Sims is not going to see the light of day, then are we saying the Knicks are going to play small ball? And okay, once you finish, also as far as Julius Randle, is Julius Randle going to take a page out of Jalen Brunson's book and take a little less and sacrifice for the betterment of the team, or you think he's going to want every single penny that he's asking for, even though this New York Knicks front office has done an excellent job at getting every single player on the Knicks below their asking price. So whatever any player on his team has asked for or whispered their asking number according to their agents, this New York Knicks front office has done an amazing job getting everyone well under their number and still making it happen and getting the deal done. So I do think that that's going to happen with Julius, but do you think that he's going to be willing to take a little less and, maybe because he sees where this team is going and that where they're heading and he wants to get a championship, you think Julius will take a pay cut?
I think he will, because like you gotta also remember, like when nobody wanted to come to the Knicks, Randall came and he, it's like you have this 5-year whatever plan. Um and he possibly knew that okay, it's not gonna happen now. So let me just ride it out. And now that the core guys have been assembled, I
Mm-hmm.
think that he will follow suit and for the betterment of the team and possibly take less because not that he's going to be looked at any differently because at the end of the day, it's a business. He got a family just like, the other players. But, if he decide to, don't take the pay cut and if they give it to him and that, that's the, that's their, the Knicks, thing they got to worry about. But I think he will because, like I said, when nobody wanted to come, he was like, yo, I'm going because he wanted to be like, that guy that bring that championship or knew that eventually that they were going to build, something great and special. And he figured he'll ride it out. So I think he will because, that's the end goal to lift that Lombardi trophy. Excuse me, the Larry O'Brien trophy. If that's what that's what they want to lift that. So I think he's gonna be like that one that says, okay, I'm on board. Let's go get this. So and I hope so.
Yeah, shout out to the Milkman 3323. He said he's gonna have to take less, talking about Randall, if
Yeah,
Bridges is taking less or get traded.
yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? I think also the Knicks are not going to be able to give Randall the max price he's asking for because part of what you were talking about with that wait and see, you have to have wiggle room to be able to bring in that possible backup center for Mitchell Robinson and be able to pay out, even though their contract is on a discount, but you still don't want to be over the cap. So I think Randall is on board to stick around and he wants to be on this Knicks team and where they're going. And quite honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't think that the front office is nowhere near. I know at one point Randall's name was on the trade block and everything like that. But why would you get rid of a guy who gives you those numbers night in, night out? And before Randall's injury, he was on a tear.
yeah.
So you need that production to relieve some of that. Jalen Brunson's going to have a little pressure off of him this season because now when you have a guy like Mikal Bridges and you have a healthy Randall back, he doesn't have to go so hard. He's still going to go hard, but he don't have to. He could take a breather some night and take some of that pressure off his damn shoulders, and he don't have to be like, damn, well, I got to do everything tonight because. And it's no disrespect to Devo, it's no disrespect to Josh Hart, but they're not playmakers.
Well, they go back to their respective role off the bench.
Right,
Oh,
right. That's what I'm saying. And
Shito.
now you need those guys in who Mikal Bridges, who's healthy, he's able to play games, he can give you 20 plus points a night. That's what this Knicks team needs, and that's what we were missing also in the playoffs. We didn't have guys who could give us like playmaking ability to give us points, and that hurt us. So I think that Randall will be on board to stick around, take less. He wants to stay a Nick. I've seen interviews with him that are very recent interviews. And, he's talking about how he loves it here. He wants to stay here. He said, nah, we live here. I want to stay here. I'm not looking to go anywhere. I'm looking to get healthy. And we all know, besides next Saturday with his contract deal, his extension deal being done, September, he'll be reevaluated to see where his shoulder is um, for the season. So I think that the centerpiece Well, one, I have no high expectations for Sims as far as coming in and
Nobody
showing
do.
something, different. And like I said, I really am being hopeful that Mitch will be able to stay healthy as long as possible. I don't think that the front office should wait very long until we are able to get someone else in. And yeah, I just say keep this Knicks team the way they are and don't break up the chemistry of who we have here. Everybody fits here in their role. And, you know, OG's another one we've spoken about. We need him to give us at least 60 games. Mitchell Robinson, at least 60 games. If you need to be out for a couple to sit out, or you get an injury, but we need you back for the playoffs. So those Mitchell Robinson and OG are the two players who I'm worried about. I don't really worry about Randle because Randle's not injury prone. And I've said this, this is like my third or fourth time saying this. He's really not an injury prone player. Unfortunately, when you're a dog and you're a bully down in the paint, grabbing rebounds and using all that muscle. I saw an interview with Randle, and the guy asked him if Randle, he said, "Oh, did you work out like this in high school?" He said, "No." He said, "I worked out in college." He said, "But when I got to the NBA is when I really started working out." He said, when Kobe was my mentor, he used to tell me, like, you got to get stronger. So he said, now he said, I'm really, really, like, I'm really strong. And we've seen that. Like, Randall is, super, his strength ability is, out the wazoo. So unfortunately, when you play the way he plays and you playing against Miami, who has this like evil spirit against the Knicks, and they like to do evil things. I'm telling you, we gotta watch out for them next year. Who are you gonna try to hurt next? I don't know why you ripping people's arms out of the socket. That just makes no sense to me.
But
And Bam stepping on people's ankles intentionally the year before that. So again, this was two Miami Heat players, different players on the Miami Heat team, and they're just dirty. But I'm not worried about Randall with an injury because he's not an injury prone guy like a Mitchell Robinson, like a OG Anunoby. He's just suffered against, again, dirty players who caused him a major injury and the man had to be out. So, um, yeah, I just, you know, how
well,
is he injury prone?
yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Because Randall's suffered injuries. And here's the thing too, if I was Randall, I would wanna lock in with this Knicks team, not just for championship contention, but even before you get there. Randall hasn't really been able to show not just the front office and coaching staff, but the fans and his teammates what he could do in the playoffs. We
Yeah,
haven't really seen what Randall really go off because the man has suffered an injury. The year before last, Bam Adebayo on twisted the man's ankle up and then stepped on it a few times like he was stepping on a water bug. And then Jaime Jaquez decides I'm gonna rip his arm out of his shoulder blade socket, and now you're out for the rest of the whole season. So he hasn't really had the ability because I was truly looking forward to this past playoff season. I was like, yo, I need to see what Randall could do because I needed him to redeem himself from that awful playoffs before Bam messed up his ankle. A lot of people could say, oh, Randall was hurt. I said, guys, he was hurt. He wasn't hurt initially. Bam Adebayo was dirty, but neither way, that's neither here or there. I'm not really concerned with him as far as being injury prone. Um, what's going on with you as a Nick? You you saying he's injury prone, but what injuries are you referring to? We're not giving Randall a soft late landing, a lating. I think that if you really are being realistic, Randle hasn't suffered the amount of injuries that Mitchell Robinson has suffered and been out many games. Because the last I recall, before we had Jalen Brunson, before we had Josh Hart, before we had Dante DiVincenzo, before we had OG Anunoby, the Knicks only had Randle. Yeah, you had Mitchell Robinson, but you really only have Randle. Randle was the lone wolf like Carmelo Anthony when he was on this team, playing with a bunch of nut baskets who were going nowhere. So, like Diva just said, he actually stuck around when it was foolery going on here, going nowhere. And then they brought in Jalen Brunson. That was cool. You know how when you and people say you got a network and it's about who you know? That was because Rick is on the team as an assistant coach. Tibbs has coached him and known him for years. So that was a who you know situation. I can get my boy over here. That's how that helped to work out in the Knicks' favor. So, and I'm gonna keep it back there. So when Jalen came here, Julius wasn't really on board. He wasn't feeling that he wasn't number one. Then he went on a podcast P episode and said, "Nah, I'm actually more comfortable being the B option or the C option or the third player option. I don't really want to be the number one option." And when Randle, Jalen Brunson was here, they had games initially where they were scoring, giving us 40, 45 a night. But guess what? We were still losing. They had to figure out that wasn't working at individual spotlight. We need y'all to play together, figure it out. And they figured it out.
Yeah.
They figured it out. So Brunson had to carry the load because Jaime Jaquez decided to pull Randle's arm out of his socket. And the man was out for the whole season. So, but can you account for any other Randle injuries that he's had as a New York Knickerbocker?
No, outside those when he's the first that season, what was that, the 2021-22 season? Or rather whatever the year before that when he's like bam, stopped on his, well, this is a little exaggeration, but his ankle. And then when he had the injury, in the Miami game. But otherwise, not. I mean, you know,
He was playing the bulk of the season.
yeah.
Anthony D, you saying exactly what we saying. The man, we were looking for Randle to show us something in the playoffs this past season. But unfortunately, I'm going to repeat it again. Jaime Jaquez pulled his arm out of the socket. The
He
man's shoulder was dangling out.
he landed on him. It was just a he went for the rebound and
Okay.
it was an awkward landing.
But the point is that that's how he got injured. He's not running down the floor like OG and his leg cramped up. He didn't try to do a crossover move and twisted his ankle on the way to the basket. That's different. That's injury prone. That's like, oh, and then you hopping along because something got tight or twisted up.
Well,
That's
Mitch,
when those things are an occurrence. They always happen. Then you're an injury prone player. But Randle, he plays the bulk of the season.
yeah,
But it's unfortunate that he's been injured by the same team 2 different seasons. He's been injured by the same team. Go figure. Miami Heat. So this is why he missed the playoffs. Trust me, I wanted to see what the man could do as well. You considered the 2 option here. So this is why Jalen had to carry the whole load because you didn't have no other option. We didn't have Mikal. We didn't have nobody else who can give us points like that. And you had people who stepped in like OG, like Dante DiVincenzo, like Precious at some point throughout even the regular season, who had to step up, Josh Hart, and give us contributing points.
eh,
So,
yeah, just play, out of position. So
but I don't agree. You're saying that we're giving Randle a soft landing that he's injury prone. I'm really, if you can give me a little bit more injuries that he's had, then maybe. Yeah, but this is a dead fly at this point. Chef Lady, keep it a buck. Dirty play, yes, but Randle could have made the pass. Again, his basketball awareness comes into question.
Mm,
Would it be fair to say that this is a make or break year for him? I think for the playoffs, yeah, because we know what Randle could do in the regular season. Randle could give you 20 and 10, 20 and 15 easily a night. But here's my thing with Randle. Can Randle step up and make that correlate in the playoffs? Because when before the Bam Adebayo ankle injury, remember he was a little timid and he was exposed when they were playing that one-on-one man-to-man defense. Randle was having trouble getting to the basket one-on-one. So I'm sure since then Randle has for sure worked on his game. But again, the playoffs is a different animal. It's a different animal. So I don't know about make or break, but best believe the front office is going to be looking at Randle for the playoffs. Like, let's see what you're going to do. Because
oh, for
the
sure.
only
That
person they not questioning is Jalen Brunson. He the only one that they like. We not worried about him. We know what he could do.
there's a few other people they're not questioning, but
Who
I
not
wonder
questioning?
who that they're not.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna question Mikal.
No,
They know
I don't think they're
even
going to question him either.
even chances they know what Josh can do and what he what he the contribution he can make. Even with Deuce because they seen his numbers. It has been on an increase and on a rise. So he's only gonna get better. So I think the only person that's probably with the question mark is make Randall and possibly OG because with the injury, but otherwise, and I think everybody else is pretty solid wise, and hell, even Mitch because they know they need a backup center. So you got there's three guys that you could possibly got to put a question mark, an asterisk near their name
Yeah,
because you
that's
don't
what I was
know.
going to say.
Yeah, it's you don't know the certainty of what of how long they're gonna withstand the season or whatever. So but I gotta I want to back up for a second on the center. Then I was reading something. Um, Brooke Lopez, and I
Hmm.
know he's 36. He's old. He's 4 years shy of being 40.
Hmm.
Um, and then plus Milwaukee want too much for him. But he's a solid guy, man. Um, and not for nothing, he may be 36, but I would, I mean, I don't, he's not worth the first rounder. That's for darn sure.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
definitely, if they could get him, at a steal, man, I would definitely roll the dice for him. I would
Yeah, you know what's funny? Every time we would play Milwaukee, he was in the corner cooking with
check
threes.
the threes. Yep.
And I'm like, I know he can do that. So I know you guys on the team know he can do that. Why are you not guarding him?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, he may be slow, Anthony D, but guess what? Clearly he's worth more money than a Taj Gibson because what he can do on the floor.
Yeah, he's 23 mil. So he has
He ain't
yeah.
that slow.
What was
He
that?
ain't, he ain't
Exactly.
that slow if that's how much. And again, I know these contracts are high, but I think also sometimes we gotta stop looking at the number. You gotta look at the other little intangibles that players can bring to the team. And even if he is playing limited minutes, but having a champion, a playoff bound, multiple year playoff bound player, they can bring something to this team and also be provide leadership in practices and in games and
Yeah,
showing guys like
it's
Mitch and Precious Achua footworks and how to get off your feet and grab them solid rebounds, how to work on getting them 3-point
yep.
shots down. your defensive stances. So we got to stop looking at the number. It's not always about the speed. Mitchell
And the
Robinson's slow too. He ain't
exactly. And the other added value that he brings to the team, experience, like you said, the
right.
leadership. I mean, he could hit the three. So at a at a clip like for a
And we
big guy,
don't have that in a big.
yeah. So that So you take away his the slow aspect, and what the other things that he brings. There's a lot of things that he brings,
Right.
to a team, added value anyway. So
He reminds me of and I know they're not the same player, but I think just like what they can bring for a team that's so valuable, he reminds me of like an Al Horford. Like
oh
they
yeah,
can still get out there and they hustle. They can get up and down the floor. They can get you those solid rebounds that you need, the extra tip in the ball if they need to kick it out to whoever. They can score. A
yeah,
big that could shoot the three. We don't have a true big that could shoot the three because hell, even when we had Isaiah Hartenstein, he couldn't do that for us. He may
yeah.
do that in OKC. Maybe they'll allow him to do that. But according to what he said, the Knicks didn't really want him doing that.
Yeah, his versatility alone. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's slow, but the other things that he could bring to a team. So I just figure I just throw that name out there.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up the first round pick. I agree with you 100%, but I think that he would be somebody because of his veteran experience. He's a stronger candidate veteran wise than when you looked at when the Knicks were taking Taj Gibson, who I was very unpleased about. I didn't understand what was the point of bringing Taj Gibson around when, to me, Taj
Well,
Gibson is not the same Taj Gibson he was when he was on Chicago. And to me, he never really was that great as a Knick. Don't argue with me, argue in the comments because he never showed me anything that made me go, yo, like, but when you mention a center like Brook Lopez, that's a completely different player. And it's the experience, like we always talk about a lot with OG Anunoby, it's the value sometimes that a player brings to a team that can make the difference. And Brook Lopez can bring that experience to this team that is needed. And let me tell you something, Mitchell Robinson may have been in the league for a while, but you could still be up for learning. You
oh,
could
for
still
sure.
learn. You know what I'm saying? So it's just unfortunate because his contract is so high and the Knicks just don't have the money for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I that would be like if the Knicks were able to bring somebody like him. I'm not saying 100%, oh, bring him, but he would be a good option just because I think that he can give good, solid backup minutes when needed. I would be more comfortable seeing him out there than Sims.
For sure. 1,000.
He may not be the quickest, but he's not going to jump up at every little ball fake like Sims, leaving his feet every 2 seconds, committing a foul too quickly, leaving the air, you know what I mean? Getting beat off a punk fake. So, yeah, I just, we'll see. We'll see what the Knicks are going to do with the center position. I do have a I do have a premiere. Let me see if I could just play it for you guys. It's a new song by J Boogie called KOAT. Shout out to J Boogie, who's always showing the New York Knicks some love with their songs and their music. I'm gonna play it for y'all. It's a world premiere right here. I didn't have any visual arts for it, so I'll look for that for him. I'll send him an email. Maybe he could send me something. So check this out. Shout out to J Boogie.
Don't it sound so beautiful? Don't it sound so beautiful? Let me touch your soul. It's the coat, baby. I'm the coat.
Madison Square Garden.
dreams. I'm the coach that means Knicks over all teams. A lot of teams behind the wheel this year, they getting slumped. Miss Maryland already told me put them in the trunk. The city look like a movie called It Can't Touch Us. Don't you wish you had a Tony loading up the buses? The road squad, the travel squad, the Knicks squad. That floor seat with Fat Joe, that's a terror squad. The Nick Jers with the Tim boots, the headband, tell them that the deuce loose. This goes out to all the real loyal Nick fans. The pain felt before JR was the sixth man. The LJ go-to part, the headband. The game winner, the smoothest, Allen Houston. They say I give a sermon like a church man. I need my money like James, let my dough land. The 4-7 broke Bernard means I'm on fire. The same day, Candace announced she retired. Still hate. My flow just stay tighter. I'm Fred Katz on beats, the Knicks staff writer. On game nights, New York City with the bright lights. My energy, Josh Hart, I got the mic and ice. It's only right that I give thanks. When it come to these Knick bars, I'm Lloyd Banks. I give a take on your partners for the uplift. And tell Kenny don't be switching out the handkerchiefs. Over here, we really got them garden dreams. I'm the coach that means Knicks over all teams. Knicks over all teams. I said Knicks over all teams. Recognize, I'm the coach, motherfucker.
Shout out to Jay Boogie. That was dope.
Yo, that was
Oh.
Jay Boogie, man.
Yeah, he always come through with the fire tracks.
He
I'm gonna have
do.
to get some artwork for that song, Jay Boogie. But yeah, Anthony D, send me a link. I don't know if you could yeah, Jay Boogie's nice with it. He always come through with the fire tracks. That was called the Coat, Koat. Shout out to Jay Boogie. We'll play that again on Sunday. He always has fire tracks for the New York Knicks. That one was dope. So appreciate you, Jay Boogie. I'm gonna send him a text so he knows. I don't know if he's still in the chat. Anthony D. You gotta somehow send me a email or yeah, so I can hop on your channel so we could join you.
Yeah, for sure, Anthony D. Yes, let us know.
Shout out to everybody in the chat for joining us today. Also the replay gang for joining us today. It was a great show. Haven't seen y'all in a while. We'll be back on Sunday morning. We'll be talking more New York Knicks. So that'll be a week before Randle signs his extension deal. Okay, you can link me through the Queen or Freezy. Okay, will do. Let me know what time you go on Sundays. We usually go on Sunday mornings as well. So let me know. Let me shout out the chat real quick. Walter Blackman, always showing love. Salute to you. Coach SAR 617, salute to you as well. Danny Lanes, salute to you. Pablo Demas, salute to you. The Milkman 3323, salute to you. King Ribby RM, always showing love. Salute to you. Kareem Grant, salute Kareem. Anthony D, coming through showing love as always. Jay Boogie, salute to you. Fire track. We'll replay that again, like I said, on Sunday. CM67 snuck in there. I see you. And I think that was everybody today. And those of you who are not in the chat watching us, salute to you as well. So yeah, anything else for you, Zivalox, before we get out of here?
I'm gonna catch replay for the women today.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to catch the game as well, so I'll watch that as well. Yeah, that's it for us today, everybody. Have a great night. Have a great happy hump day tomorrow. See you all